It was supposed to be a quiet summer night in Colorado, families barbecuing, couples sharing beers, kids tucked into bed. But by 9 p.m., a 20-foot wall of water came crashing down on Big Thompson Canyon, ripping through homes, sweeping away cars, and leaving nearly 150 people dead. One man survived being hit by a house. Another clung to a pole as trailers flew past. A mother saw an angel take her son. This is the story of chaos, miracles, and a few Darwin Award winners who remind us why common sense matters. Welcome to Dead or Survive.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dead or Survive. I am your host, Rob Riches.
I am your other host, Cheryl.
Boo!
Cheryl
Boo.
Riches. We're here to tell you a fantastic survival story followed by some Darwin Award winners.
You don't think they know 3 seasons?
Well, maybe we have some new listeners.
Go back to the beginning and listen.
Don't be a weirdo. Don't start halfway through.
Well, have you got a story?
I do, in fact, have a story.
Do you have a drink?
I have a drink as well, yeah?
Does your story revolve around donuts?
Nothing to do with donuts.
Did they survive? Did they get to eat their donut after they
I'm
survived?
sure they had donuts after they survived.
Yeah, because they probably had one of mine. Probably gave it to them. It's not funny.
It's really actually kind of funny.
It's not funny. Up top, lollipop. Hurry up, go.
Okay, so on July 31st, 1976, a catastrophic flash flood took place in Larimer County, Colorado.
To go to all the donut shops.
Probably did. And it had devastating consequences. 12 inches of rain gathered in a matter of hours. Was it
a woman's 12 inches or a man's?
Yeah. In fact, a year's worth of rain fell within 70 minutes. An estimated 2,500 to 3,500 people were inside homes, cars, or enjoying the outdoors in Big Thompson Canyon when the skies opened up that evening, dropping large volumes of water down the slopes to the canyon floor. On that fateful evening, a significant thunderstorm brought heavy rainfall to the Big Thompson Canyon area. The rainwater quickly gathered in steep, narrow canyons, and the flow of water turned into a massive flash flood. The speed and intensity of the flood caught many residents and campers off guard. Many had little to no warning when a 20-foot wall of water swept through the canyon that evening. 20 feet of water. Are you even listening?
Yeah, I'm listening.
You don't sound impressed. Okay.
No, I'm still stuck on the donuts.
Tragically, the flood resulted in a significant loss of life and property. Numerous homes, cars, and buildings were swept away, and the rushing water created a path of destruction throughout the canyon. The flood caused extensive damage to infrastructure, including roads, bridges, and utilities. The flood caused over $35 million in damages.
$35 million in a canyon?
Yep. To 418 homes and businesses. There were towns in this canyon. 38 automobiles, bridges, paved and unpaved roads, mobile homes, power lines, and other structures. The final death toll was approximately 144 people, making it one of the deadliest flash floods in U.S. history. But there were also survivors, and I'm going to tell you some of their stories.
You're going to tell us about a whole bunch of survivors?
Yep. Barbara and Andy Anderson still live right along the Big Thompson River in the canyon. Okay, I say still, but that was in 2021, so things could have changed since then, so don't come at me. That day, a friend...
So you didn't do research again?
Well, I'm not going to, hello, Barbara Anderson, do you still live in the canyon?
I'm sure you probably Facebook creeped her.
That day, a friend who lived 10 minutes away called to warn them about the approaching flood. The friend warned them to get the family out, saying she had just seen a nearby bridge get swept away. Because of the warning, they, along with family members and neighbors, rushed to higher ground. They spent the night on the highway and watched in horror as other people were trying to escape and got washed down the river in their cars. Their daughter, Tina, was 9 at the time. Barbara and Andy spent most of the night trying to distract their children so they didn't hear the people crying out for help as they were being swept away. At least 5 people were never found after the flood. One of Tina's friends was one of those 5. They know that they were very fortunate that night. Barbara has worked for years to make sure the memory of those that were lost is honored. She is on the board for the group that started a memorial honoring the lives that were lost that day. So Terry Belair, this is another survivor. Terry and her friend Connie went into the Big Thompson Canyon on July 31st, 1976. Terry was fresh out of Berthoud High School, and she was set to join Connie at a work party in the canyon. Following a brief stop for food in Estes Park, they began their trip back to the Loveland area, but that's when the heavy downpour suddenly began. It started to get muddy really quickly, and then the car started to take on water. Uncertain about how to proceed, Terry explained that they had left the car behind and began climbing the nearest mountain they could find, holding on to anything they could for support. By the time they got to higher ground, it was dark. They could only watch fleeting glimpses of the situation below when lightning struck and illuminated the surroundings. She
That'd
said,
be freaky, eh? All you see is like this lightning, and you'd see water washing and cars going down, and then it'd be black again.
When I was researching this story, I got the hugest heaves. I remember watching a movie when I was like, one of those daytime movies or something about a flash flood where there was a bunch of kids. And I think it's actually based on a true story. And that's what I went into when I was looking for a story today. And I found that story, but then I found this and I was like, I'm going to talk about this. Anyways, she said we heard loud sounds of scraping noises like houses going by or big pipes going down, just the water carrying things and then scraping against the rocks. She said it was sad when we were sitting on our ledge and we saw that the water was coming down. We could kind of see through the thunder and the lightning. Her car kind of started to bob and then get washed away. They had to spend the night on a ledge they came across. The following morning, they discovered an abandoned cabin on the hill they had taken shelter on. They began making their way to it just as they began to hear the sounds of a helicopter approaching. They tried to get the helicopter's attention.
But it didn't see them.
See, this is where I surprise you. I think this is the first survival story I've told that worked. One of the smaller helicopters noticed them and came down to their rescue. But Terry took something with her to serve as a reminder of her luck, a piece of broken road. She says, it's just a reminder for me that we made it, survived, we were lucky. Now I'm going to tell you about...
So let me get this straight.
Yeah.
In all your other stories, they're in the middle of the ocean, sun beating down on them, things are good, can't see them.
Right.
Thunder, lightning, flood going on. They are side of the mountain.
They were rescued, except it was the following day and the sun did come out the next day. So, and I think they were lower and localized. Anyways, they were found. Jerry Schaefer is my next survivor. At the time, Jerry, who is 22 years old, was with his girlfriend Sandy at her parents' at the family's property in Cedar Cove, a community situated in the heart of the Big Thompson Canyon. They were watching one of the 3 TV channels that they could get that night. A knock on the door startled them. It was the fire chief's wife, who came to warn the neighbors that the water levels were rising. In response to the warning, Jerry and the family hurried down to the river to retrieve an irrigation pump and release some chickens that were penned up. 1 minute, the water was flowing under the bridge. However, in the next moment, Jerry, a longtime resident of Big Thompson River since the 1960s, started to feel a sense of panic. It was just 15 to 20 seconds, and out of nowhere, they found themselves standing in water up to their waist. The water climbed higher. Jerry tried to climb on top of a shed with Sandy's father, 62-year-old Ely Lee. Meanwhile, the girls tried to shine a flashlight for the men to find their way back to the house. Jerry attempted to lift Ely onto the roof, but the sheer force of the water tore them away from the building. They were swept among the rocks, barns, and cars by the powerful current. Jerry held on to Ely with his left arm while using his right to protect them from the debris. A few moments later, Jerry's arm became wedged in a tree, almost dislocating it from its socket.
Ouch.
Yeah. But also, he would be holding on to that as hard as he could, even through the pain, right? This halted their tumbling, for a few minutes anyways. Then the tree that he had his arm wedged in uprooted, sending the 2 men flailing downstream. But Jerry eventually leaned deeply into the water, dug his heels into the mud, and succeeded in stopping their rush downstream. It was pitch black, but it wasn't raining. The flash flood originated a few miles further down the canyon. So that's also the creepy thing, right? It wasn't even raining there. It was raining miles away. But the flash flood affected them because it just had nowhere else to go but to them.
Well, and how arrogant are we as a species? We'll just build ourselves houses in the canyon.
Right. But they hadn't seen this in hundreds of years, so they didn't.
But still, they had to have some kind of knowledge. Canyons,
flash
floods.
happen. They do happen. They're scary. You don't know they're coming, and then they're there.
Did you know that around here we had one, Tillsonburg?
No, I didn't know
Yeah, it was
that.
a great big huge one. People, I can show you where it was, but it was huge in Tillsonburg.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Surrounding them, they could see homes, cars, and people swiftly passing by, intermittently illuminated by flashes of lightning. Jerry caught a glimpse of his camper as it sped through the surging water. Ely joked that Jerry should have kept it attached to his truck. But this was the last time they would laugh together. A massive wall of water had been unleashed from a dam located further upstream. It was estimated to be 20 feet in height. I can't even picture that in my head. How tall is our house?
About 20 feet.
Yeah,
Right?
so it's like a house of water.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
People surf that stuff all the time.
Yeah, I guess, but they're not on surfboards. This powerful wall of water struck them, knocking them over and leaving Jerry struggling to resurface, desperately searching for air. Jerry realized that if he could propel himself and Ely towards the surface, they might have a chance of surviving. There was a glimmer of hope that they might just make it out alive. But then Ely went limp in his arms. Jerry thought to himself, I don't really want to drown. If I force myself up, I'll knock myself out. It was the calmest thought. God, I'm about to come and meet you. I just forced myself up as hard as I could, and then when I did, it just swept us away. And he started tumbling again. The water forcefully ripped Ely from his grasp, leaving a path of devastation that would extend for miles. Desperate to find air, Jerry used his fingers to cling to the last 2 feet of a utility pole that had become wedged between some pine trees. The water forcibly stripped away his shirt, his shoes, even his glasses, leaving him exposed and disoriented. And in that moment, he spotted the camper that Ely had made a wisecrack about just moments before. Jerry couldn't recall exactly what happened next. It's the only part of the ordeal that he has no memory of. However, somehow he managed to climb to the top of the camper and retrieve cushions that would serve as a form of protection. The water kept rising, forcing Jerry to climb from the trailer to the trees, higher and higher, until he made a nest as high as he could go. Despite all his efforts, Jerry believed that he might still meet the same fate as the numerous others caught in the flood. Suddenly, a flash of lightning illuminated a huge white house hurtling directly toward him. He braced for the impact, which sent shards of glass through his makeshift armor, piercing his skin amidst a deafening roar.
He was hit with a house?
He was hit with a damn house.
That's some, Incredible Hulk shit right there. Yes. Hulk smash.
The impact was so powerful that it felt like a bomb had gone off.
Do you think it was a house?
Right. But listen to this. Just 15 minutes had passed since the knock on the door, and all of this had happened. Hours would go by before he could make an escape across the jagged glass, protruding nails, and shattered structures that had accumulated beneath him. He managed to make it his way to shore. His girlfriend's home was gone. However, she and her mother emerged from the darkness while Jerry was busy assisting an elderly lady who was trapped between a wall and a dresser. His girlfriend and her mother had taken refuge on a mattress when the water began to violently shake the house, dislodging items from the ceiling and carrying the entire residence nearly 300 yards downstream.
Jesus.
The women described their harrowing experience as like riding a wild bull. Jerry and the other survivors gathered on a hill and built a fire around 3 a.m. Sunday morning. Rain finally started to fall overhead, and they waited for daylight, dreading the destruction that surrounded them. They found one neighbor lodged in the mud that night. Jerry is aware of 6 more individuals from the neighborhood who tragically lost their lives in the disaster. Clouds gave way to a sunny Sunday morning in the canyon. Helicopters made their way to the area. Because Jerry was relatively uninjured, he was one of the last to be rescued from the canyon that day. Upon arriving at the evacuation center, he made his way to the list of missing men, women, and children. And there he found his father, anxiously scanning the list and fearing the worst. His father had driven through the night from Indiana and had arrived at the evacuation center ahead of his son. He walked up behind his father and tapped him on the shoulder.
What you doing here, Pa?
Jerry went back to the house and started to go through some of the rubble. Remarkably, his dog, a scruffy, arthritic mutt, seemed to have survived the storm by cowering on the counter. Her name was Useless, and she lived for a few more years. So Useless was another survivor. Deborah Watts, this one's hard. This one's a hard one, so just be aware. Deborah recalls the day of the flood as a picture-perfect summer day in Colorado. The sun was radiant, and in the canyon, tourists and outdoor enthusiasts from the area were enjoying a day in the mountains. Deborah was having a weekend getaway with her family, her husband Gary, and their 3 children. The cabin, situated right by the river, was the property of Deborah's in-laws. On their way to the cabin, Deborah had a feeling that something bad was about to happen, but she dismissed it as mere superstition. Interestingly, her daughter had also voiced similar fears hours before the flood commenced. Nevertheless, 7-year-old Cindy and 3-year-old Aaron spent the day playing and enjoying the sunshine. Deborah's 3rd child was 1-month-old Sean. The family had intended to have a dinner of grilled chicken, but their plans were foiled by the rainstorm that began in mid-afternoon. Initially, the Watts family, along with others in the canyon that evening, didn't pay much attention to the rainstorm. However, the rain continued to pour relentlessly, setting the stage for Colorado's worst natural disaster. The vicinity surrounding the Watts cabin received a staggering 14 inches, so that's 355 millimeters of rainfall in just 3 hours. And the lightning and thunder intensified as the storm persisted. Deborah said it was only when they observed water seeping into their cabin that she and the family comprehended the severity of the storm. The storm outside wasn't just raindrops anymore, but more like a constant stream of water falling from the sky. Deborah and her husband readied themselves to leave the house and make their way up the mountainside for safety. At that point, the water had burst through the glass doors of their A-frame cabin. Take 3, and I still can't say it. The family rushed to a bedroom where they broke a window to make their escape. Without considering the repercussions, Deborah shattered the window with her right arm, causing a gash so deep that it exposed the bone.
Ow.
Yeah.
What kind of windows are they using?
Well, old school, I guess. Everything was built tougher. Meanwhile, the water continued to rise inside the house. Her husband had to fashion a tourniquet using a scarf. Is it tourniquet or tourniquet?
Tourniquet.
Despite their best effort.
I
think it's tourniquet.
Of course you do, because I said one.
Well, I said it the first way that I thought was right the first time, right? Anyways, I'm going to say tourniquet.
You also thought it was okay to eat my last donut.
Despite their best efforts, they were unable to exit through the bedroom because the water was rapidly flowing around all sides of the cabin. Then they ascended the stairs into the loft. The roof was too steep to climb on, because it was an A-frame. So they resorted to the only thing they needed.
Hey, you got it right. Good for you.
Right. Yes, I did.
Good for you.
I know. They started praying for a miracle. Several minutes went by as they waited. All the while, the storm continued to rage. Deborah peered out of the window and witnessed a colossal 20-foot wall of water heading their way.
Same one?
This is there's different locations in the canyon. So
there's a lot of 20-foot waves.
Yeah. Well, it's probably the same one. It's just hitting different places at different times, right? Yeah. Frightened, rushed towards her, crying, "Mummy, Mummy, I don't want to die." He reached out for her, and as she reached for him, her injured arm was unable to grasp him. She could only watch in horror as he was swept away by the water.
No.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have good stories. People surviving. Why?
I try. I mean, when there's things 144 people died. That's a lot of people for one, natural disaster. The water had carried the cabin away with its powerful current, and now the roof was resting on Deborah's head. Deborah thought she was taking her last breath. However, the roof lifted away from above her. As she, too, was swept along in the current, she described seeing a vision of an angel in a flowing robe reaching out for Aaron, their hands connected, and the angel and the little boy vanished. The next thing Deborah was aware of was lying on the riverbank with no recollection of how she ended up there. She watched the water tossing boulders, cars, and trailers. The hissing of propane tanks and the scent of gas filled the air as the tanks collided with rocks, logs, and various other objects in the water. She watched as her husband, cradling their infant son, approached her. In the distance, they heard a faint voice calling out, "Mommy, Daddy, help me!" Gary located their daughter, Cindy, floating in the river, with the hood of her jacket entangled in a tree. he managed to rescue the little girl from the water. Too weak to move, Deborah urged her husband to take the children and move to higher ground. How rough would that be? She wants her children to live, obviously, and she can't do anything, so she has to tell her husband to take the kids and go to higher ground and leave her.
That wouldn't happen.
And he had to. He had to take care of his kids, right?
What about his wife?
Reluctantly, they ascended the mountain while she remained behind to fend for herself. With painstaking effort, she crawled on her hands and knees, gradually ascending the mountainside. Her makeshift tourniquet was lost, and her arm was once again bleeding heavily. She used an elastic belt she was wearing to fashion another tourniquet. She persevered, steadily climbing and reciting Bible verses in her mind for the next 4 hours. Her husband, from his higher vantage point, eventually saw her and located Deborah. He then brought the 2 children down to reunite with her. They huddled together, trying to ward off hypothermia. Daylight arrived, revealing the extent of the devastation, which was almost unimaginable. Even the concrete foundation of their cabin had been torn away, and massive chunks of the road below had been swept downstream. Gary descended the mountain to seek assistance. He called out to stranded motorists on the opposite side of the river, desperately seeking medical aid for his family. While still close to the property where their cabin once stood, he came across an old shed that had been constructed into a rock formation, which miraculously remained intact. Oh my gosh, I just got a notice at the bottom of my laptop that says rain coming.
Awesome.
Okay, where am I? Intact shed.
Intact shed. Miraculously.
Miraculously remained intact.
Miraculously.
He relocated the family to the shed. By this time, Deborah had lost more than half of her blood. She slumped on a tree stump inside the shed and waited. Eventually, a man entered the shed and found the Watts family. When he entered, he spotted a figure sitting on a tree stump, covered in mud and silt, and that had given her skin a pale gray hue. Deborah Watts appeared physically and emotionally drained. Her right arm was nearly severed. He looked at her and knew that she was going to lose an arm if she didn't die first. But he began to do what he could. He carefully wrapped 1-month-old Sean in a clean blanket. 7-year-old Cindy stood in one corner of the shed, her face streaked with mud, tears rolling down her cheek.
But add more water.
The man started cleaning Deborah's wound and covered it with antiseptic. He told her she was going to be fine, although he didn't really believe that. This man was Butch Hutchins. The day before, Butch and his girlfriend, Cherie, spent the day in the canyon. At the end of the day, they started to head down Big Thompson Canyon on Butch's motorcycle. Upon spotting a storm cloud forming over the canyon, they made the choice to return to Estes Park as they lacked the appropriate rain gear to shield themselves from the wet weather. Butch sipped on a Coors beer while his girlfriend purchased some saltwater taffy. This delay likely played a crucial role in saving their lives, as they might have been caught in the deluge had they have been in the Narrows, the most constricted and steep segment of the canyon when the flood struck. Around sunset, they headed back down the canyon.
So what I just heard there is we should buy more motorcycles.
Or beer.
No beer.
The river started flowing over the road. Butch, Cherie, and a few other motorists believed they could walk across the water. However, the current proved too strong and swept Cherie off her feet. Butch's motorcycle was also submerged in the water. Without much thought, he instinctively leaped into the water to rescue his girlfriend. The motorcycle's foot pegs had become entangled on a rock. With one hand, Hutchins reached for Cherie's helmet. Using his other hand, he clutched the spokes of the motorcycle wheel and managed to pull Cherie out of the water.
A motorcycle saved his life?
Yes.
See, we need more motorcycles.
He then guided her to the shelter of a nearby van. By this point, Butch had come to the realization that it was impossible to proceed further down the canyon road. It was raining so hard, if you stood up straight, you could hardly breathe. The only way you could get air was to look straight down, which made this pocket of air around your face. The entire mountainsides were coming down with all the water. You don't even imagine that it's going to get worse, but it did. Butch walked up and down the canyon road, watching the progressing flood and trying to figure out what to do. I saw this car surface above the water, he said. There were people in it. I made eye contact with them. They had looks of sheer terror on their faces. There was absolutely nothing I could do for them.
That's got to be horrible, eh?
Yeah, that's something that nightmares are made of. At this point, the water was surging over the road so rapidly that Butch couldn't make it to the other side where he had left his girlfriend. He helplessly witnessed the water engulfing the van where he had left her, and he was convinced she had been swept away. However, he had to devise a plan to ensure his own survival. The water was washing the asphalt below him faster than he could run. He eventually ran into a crowd of about 40 people who were stranded and didn't know what to do. Butch urged them to climb up the mountainside away from the rising river. It became every person for themselves. If you had fallen, you would have been trampled. Butch spent the majority of the night assisting the group and others who were stranded in their vehicles. The lightning illuminated the canyon like a strobe light, providing intermittent glimpses throughout the night of cars and homes floating down the river. By 2 a.m., the water started receding, and Butch set out to find Cherie. She hadn't drowned after all. He found her safe upstream in another van. Butch ventured out once more to assess the extent of the damage and discover how he could further assist. About a mile up the road, he encountered a group of people gathered around a fallen pine tree. A man with a rope tied around his waist was determined to swim across the river to reach the tree, where someone on the other side was in need of assistance. Butch realized that the group could make use of another nearby log to create a complete bridge to cross the water. He rallied several men to help lift the log. And then I left this part out, but I remember it. They got the log across, and then Butch looked around and everybody else scattered because nobody else wanted to cross the log. So he was like, well, I guess I'm doing this.
He built a bridge.
Yeah.
He should use it.
Butch took a first aid kit given to him by another spectator and crossed the log. And this is where he found Gary. Gary was on the bank screaming, my wife, somebody help my wife, she cut her arm. As Butch began attending to Gary's family, Gary was sobbing about losing 3-year-old Aaron in the flood. Butch was sure the man would lose his wife too. But soon after, a helicopter landed right outside the shed to carry Deborah to a hospital in Estes Park. Before the helicopter took off, Deborah and Gary both thanked Butch for his help. Deborah and her family had held a memorial service for Aaron before his body was found. 2 weeks after the flood, his body arrived at a morgue set up to identify the flood victims. It took another 11 days to positively identify him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
It's so terrible. Deborah gained back full use of her arm after several surgeries. Only a jagged scar remains today. 9 years after the flood, Deborah and her husband divorced. Partly the result, she said, of the strain of the flood and her son's death put on their marriage. Deborah always wanted to thank Butch for all that he did, and she spent 20 years trying to figure out who he was. Butch was sure that Deborah had died and never tried to find information because he just didn't want to know. But on the 20th anniversary, something motivated to make peace with the past. Butch found the phone number of a woman he knew and who also knew Watts, Deborah, and was also a flood survivor herself. So he said to her, "This is Butch from Greeley." He said, "I heard this shriek on the other line." She said, "Were you in the flood? Did you know Deborah Watts?" So I guess he didn't know this girl. Sorry, I got that part mixed up. When he discovered Deborah had survived, he didn't believe it. Not until he saw the scar on her arm. At the 20th anniversary memorial service, I was dipped in absolute disbelief, he said. There was no way the woman in front of me was the same woman I saw in that shed. Deborah firmly believes that her survival was a miracle, Butch says. But Butch says, "I'm not a real religious person at all, but I think this whole story is just one of the things that God does." So that is the big Thompson flood and some other survivors. Obviously, there's more. Really tragic, a lot of lives lost. So that's that.
That's that? That's your survival story?
That's my survival story.
You always got to have somebody awful happening in your survival stories.
Okay, well, I'll make it better. I'll tell you about a superhero.
What?
I'll tell you about a superhero. My superhero of the day.
Oh, you're still doing this? You're still pushing this on us?
This is going to be a thing. It's going to be an always thing. Okay, today it's more than one superhero. They work together. In the summer of 2013...
Batman and Robin? Who's the sidekick?
I don't know. You decide. In the summer of 2013, teenagers Tamar Boggs and Chris Garcia were enjoying a typical day when they learned that the police were outside, searching for a missing 5-year-old girl named Jocelyn Rojas. She had disappeared from her front yard and was believed to have been abducted. Despite 2 hours of search effort by law enforcement and neighbors, there had been no success. Upon hearing this news, the two teens, who had been watching television, immediately sprang into action. They hopped onto their bikes and began scouring the area for any sign of the missing girl. After 45 minutes of searching, they noticed a car with a driver who appeared to be acting suspiciously, repeatedly driving up and down the cul-de-sacs. Upon closer examination, they spotted Jocelyn in the front seat of the car and decided to chase it. After 15 minutes of pursuit, the abductor became flustered, released the child from the vehicle, and quickly drove away. Jocelyn ran to 15-year-old Boggs and asked for her mommy. The teen scooped her up and transported her on his bike, cradled in his arms, ultimately delivering her to a firefighter. Once the news of Boggs and Garcia's heroic actions spread, funds were promptly established to support their college education, and their bravery was formally recognized in the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C.
Nobody bought them new bikes?
Don't think so.
Well,
But
that sucks. They could use faster bikes for the next time.
They got educations, so there's that.
Right.
The relief that mother must have felt, though.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And just to chase after a car, too, though, right?
Yeah, like the car could have, like, run them over. Who knows? But good for them. Good on them.
Good for them. Nobody
Yes.
bought them new bikes, but good for them. So we're at that time.
We are at that time.
I understand if nobody wants to support this podcast because my wife is a thief and steals donuts, but I am still going to ask that you like and subscribe for me, not her portion. Follow us on all podcasting streaming platforms. Leave comments about how disgusted you are about her eating my donuts. That would be all greatly appreciated. If you'd like to send emails to let her know how bad she was, you can email us at
deadersurvivepodcast@gmail.com, or you could send us stories. We'd like to have stories.
Yeah, about how maybe the donuts survived.
Or you could nominate a hero of the day
on how they saved the donuts from being eaten.
Gosh. Can we get past this whole donut?
No, you ate my donut.
It wasn't even a donut, it was a croissant.
It was a delicious deep fried croissant donut with just the right amount of glaze drizzled across it. I specifically saved that one because it had the most drizzled.
It was pretty good.
I know it was good. Don't tell me.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, enough about the thief. We're going to move on to Dead or Survive. This one is specifically about you.
Okay. Is it? I thought it was about Johnny.
Well, it's about Johnny, but it's about a cyclist.
Oh, yes.
In 1997, a cyclist in Brazil from Sorocaba, Caba. That's what I'm going to. It's Sorocaba now. That's what I'm presenting it. Put on his headphones and headed out for a ride.
Okay.
Now, let's be real. Everybody out there hates cyclists.
No, that's not true.
It is true. You guys take over the road.
Oh my gosh.
You think you own it. Yeah, you ride in packs.
There's people, when I was like big into cycling, there were people who would just swerve at me for no other reason than to be,
because they hate you, because you think you own the road. In big cities,
would always be at the edge. Always.
In big city. Okay, well that's the problem though. Like so there's one, but there's a whole other pack out there that don't. They swerve out in front of red lights in the city. They just cut you off.
That's not. I mean, I almost got killed by one of these guys. He came so close, the mirror almost hit me.
Anyways.
And
they're slow. And they think they own the road and they can just do whatever they want. Like Johnny here, who decided that he was going to take a shortcut because his biking needed to be less because his legs were getting tired.
Yeah, because it's a lot of work.
So he jumped on the sidewalk, bad, and took off on his shortcut. Johnny was also very focused on his music, which is why he did not see the oncoming traffic, and that's when Johnny was struck and killed. That's right. An airplane ran over Johnny.
What?
Did I miss the point where his shortcut went through an airport and he was on a runway?
The microphone.
Don't scream in the microphone. I thought we got new microphones so I could scream.
No, you still can't scream.
I guess I have to whisper. Yes, that's right. He jumped over and onto taking shortcuts and wound up on the...
I feel like you've told me this story before.
I haven't.
I think you have.
Nope. I know I haven't because it's the first time I heard it. I've told you airplane stories before, but not this one. So yeah, he cut into Scarborough Airport and he was on the runway and earned his wings to get to his Darwin Award.
That poor pilot. Like,
Right, he'd have to clean the airplane and everything.
He wouldn't have to do it, but still, that poor pilot.
That's what you're thinking about, poor pilot.
Yeah.
Don't worry about Johnny, who is dead.
Well, Johnny doesn't know anymore and he's dead. But the pilot's going to have to live with that for the rest of his life.
That some guy jumped in front of him?
Yeah, but still, like, he ran somebody over with his airplane. Whether or not it was his fault, it's still going to mess with him.
I guess. Well, then you're really going to love this one if you don't like things messing with people's mind.
Oh, God.
What do we use gas for?
Cars.
Cars, lawnmowers. It's fuel, correct?
Correct.
Did you also know it works as a degreaser?
I think I've heard that before.
Well, it does.
Yes.
But it's also highly flammable, so you
Right.
should use it with extreme caution.
Yes. Like not starting fires with it.
But these are my stories. So back in 1998, a woman in Texas decided that she would clean her running shoes with gas. And apparently it worked really, really well. Her shoes looked really great.
They just stunk.
Like,
they must have been so stinky.
Well, we don't know because while she was cleaning, she had a candle lit close by.
Oh my God. Why though? Why?
Well, maybe she had the candle lit to get rid of the stinky fumes that you were talking about. So she had some kind of berry candle.
Okay, but was she cleaning her shoes with gas inside the house?
Yep.
Come on.
These are my stories. I don't know why you're still shocked. Her shoes caught fire, and what do you think she did? Do you think she took them off, maybe threw them?
She didn't. She was wearing them while she was cleaning them with gasoline in the house?
Yes.
What?
So no, she takes off running towards the neighbor.
Oh my God.
And the neighbor sees her, and he runs to go get his garden hose.
Yeah.
But while he's doing that, her polyester dress, which is highly flammable, catches on fire as well.
It's like the first thing they teach you as a child, stop, drop, and...
And she didn't. And by the time the neighbor got back with his garden hose to distinguish her... Extinguish. She was dead.
That's a really morbid story. I can't wrap my head around. She was cleaning the shoes with gasoline. First of all, in her house. Why would you want that in your house? Secondly, while she was wearing them.
Oh, maybe she thought she could get them up higher and she could see what they look like, if they're in your hands. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know why people do this.
I don't know why people do the things they do, generally.
Me either. What was this one about? Oh, look at that. This is actually taking place almost kind of like yours. So here in Canada, we have 2 seasons.
Yep. Winter and construction.
That a girl.
Yes.
So as soon as the snow melts, the construction crews get to work. And when this happens, it means what? Detours, long traffic jams, closures, road rage. But well, back in 2018 in New Jersey, they were having huge storms and road closures were everywhere. Well, Johnny, who was asked by his dad to come over and help clean up items that had fallen all over his driveway and his yard, he decided that he was going to go help his dad. So he hops in his car. He's going to be a good guy. He's going to go help his dad. He's on his way to help his dad. And then he gets stuck in one of these detours, can't move lanes. Yeah. So Johnny decides, it's probably just something I can get around, and drives past the pylons and starts speeding towards his dad. And that's when he ran into the electrical transformer that had fallen on the ground with live wires still around it. And the sparks went off and his car exploded. Okay, so let's not go around stuff that's clearly marked off for do not enter. Johnny was in the car. It started sparking and fire everywhere. And Johnny was not able to get out and passed away. That's terrible. If there'd only been something there to stop him. If only. Right? If only they had put something up there that said, hey, this is don't dangerous. Go this way. You might get hurt. Like there's maybe they need something with a bright color to alarm people. Yeah, like red pylons. Or orange or whatever. Yes. Boy, poor Johnny. Oh, those are my Johnny stories. All of your Johnnies, usually it's people that are like, I kind of feel like they've kind of chosen
their path and that it's going to happen to them because of the stupid decisions that they've made. But these ones kind of seemed all like,
They made proper decisions?
no, not just like they were uninformed. Like,
Uninformed? Uninformed on what a pylon is?
I don't know.
Uninformed that gas catches fire? What do you mean uninformed?
I mean, like,
Maybe the cyclist. I'll give you the cyclist. He's bebopping to his music and he's out there, but still, all of a sudden you would think, hey, there's no buildings around and I'm on a pretty, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But flames, gas,
I'm trying to
pylons.
politely say maybe not that bright. That's what I'm trying to do here.
That's why they get Darwin Award, boy.
Yeah.
Well, now we're at the time that everybody waits for.
Yep.
Are you ready for this?
You've even got one chosen.
Oh, yeah. I'm all over this one. This one made me giggle and giggle and giggle. Did you know that 60% of pet owners let their pets sleep in the bed with them?
Okay.
I tried it, but my goldfish died.
You and I have very different senses of humor.
I don't know, because we're both laughing right now. So I don't know what you're talking about. Don't let your goldfish sleep in your bed with you.
Yeah, don't do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Dead or Survive. I have to leave quickly because the donut shops are closing. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.